Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In previous classes, we discussed about what is prefix and also we learned some uses of prefixes, and today we are going to learn more uses of prefix. Prefixes of time and order. So there are some prefixes which are used to get the meaning of time and order, and these prefixes mostly attached to nouns, verbs and adjectives. For example, the prefix super used for the meaning of above. For example, supernature, which means above the nature, and superscript, which is used for scripts or texts written above something. And another example for prefix of time and order is trans, which is used for the meaning of across, beyond or over. For example, transcribe, which is used for the meaning of write across something. Ex or x is also used as a prefix of time and order in the meaning of former, which mostly occurs with nouns. For example, ex-president, which means former president. And another example for prefix of time and order is post, which is used mostly with nouns and adjectives, and which will give us a meaning of something which happened after an event or after a date. For example, post-war, to events that happened after a war, or post-independence. And another example for this prefix is pre, which mostly used with nouns, adjectives, and also this prefix gives us the meaning of before something or before a date. For example, prepaid or pre-independence, and also pre-installed. And another example is re, which mostly occurs with verbs, nouns, and which is used for the meaning of repetition of an action or opposite of an action that has already occurred. For example, rebuild or reuse, reappear and regain. Prefixes are also used for showing location. For example, inter, which is used for the meaning of between, like in international and inter-university. And another example for prefixes of location is for, which used for the meaning of front or front part of something. For example, foreman or foreground or forename. And another example for prefix of location is sub, which is used for the meaning of below or under something, like in subnormal, submerge and subsoil. We use prefixes for the meaning of attitude and orientation, and most of these prefixes are attached to nouns or adjectives and verbs. For example, anti, which gives us the meaning of against, like in anti-slavery, and counter, which also gives us the meaning of against or in opposition to something or in the opposite direction of something, like counter attack or counter clockwise. The difference between anti and counter is anti is used for the attitude of opposition or our behavior of opposition to something, and counter is used for an action in response to a previous action. So for example, the counter attack is an action against an attack that already happened. And another example for prefixes of attitude and orientation is pro, which used in the meaning of in favor of something or in support of something, like in pro-Indians, to describe someone who is supporting Indians, or pro-student for to describe a teacher or a staff, he is very supportive to students. And there are some prefixes which used to change the part of stem or part of the root word. So if we used this prefix before a root word or before a stem, it will convert the root word into another part of speech. And these prefixes are mainly used for grammatical needs, not for the changes in meaning. For example, the prefix a is used to form adjectives from verbs. like in ablaze, which is formed from blaze, and asleep, which is formed from sleep, and astir and agro. So these adjectives formed by adding a prefix of a before a verb used mostly as predicative, like house is ablaze or he is asleep. Another example for changing the root word is be, which is used to make transitive verbs from adjectives, verbs and nouns. Like be calm in the meaning to make someone calm. The calm is an intransitive word, but by adding the be prefix it became a transitive word. And be mourn to make someone mourn, and be friend to make friendship with someone. And also be is attached to past participles to form adjectives like bejeweled and bewigged. So these are the mostly used prefixes, and there are still some prefixes which used very less. That's why we didn't explain about them in here. You can search and learn more about prefixes and uses of prefixes, and try to use prefixes whenever you could, when you speak and when you write. And next period we will discuss about suffixes. Salam.